A beautiful mermaid trades her voice for legs, wins the prince's heart, and they live happily ever after. Magical, right? That's Disney's version. Hans Christian Andersen's original tale? Let's just say it involves significantly more. Permanent life changes and considerably less singing crabs. Welcome to Twisted Tales Theater, where we explore the fascinating journey from folklore's darkest corners to family-friendly entertainment. Today, we're diving deep into how the Little Mermaid transformed from a tragic tale of unrequited love and spiritual yearning into the colorful underwater adventure we know today. If you're ready to discover how one author's personal struggles became a timeless story that would eventually make Disney billions, help us unseal this volume by hitting that like button. Trust me, this transformation story is more dramatic than any Disney princess makeover. Before we dive into the depths of this tale, let's talk about the man who wrote it. Hans Christian Andersen wasn't just any fairy tale author. He was Denmark's master of melancholy, a literary genius who specialized in beautiful stories that would absolutely devastate you emotionally. Born in 1805, Andersen grew up in poverty in the small town of Odense. His father was a shoemaker who died when Hans was just 11, leaving the family in even more difficult circumstances. But young Hans had dreams bigger than his small town. He wanted to be famous, to belong to high society, to be loved and admired. Here's where it gets interesting. Andersen was what we might call today a sensitive soul. He was tall, awkward, and had what his contemporaries politely described as unusual mannerisms. He was also incredibly talented but perpetually insecure, constantly seeking approval from those around him. In 1833, Andersen met Edvard Collin, the son of his benefactor. What followed was a decades-long emotional attachment that would profoundly influence his writing. Andersen's letters to Edvard are quite intense. He wrote things like, "I long for you as though you were a beautiful woman, and my sentiments for you are those of a woman." But here's the thing. Edvard didn't reciprocate these feelings. He valued Andersen as a friend, but nothing more. When Edvard announced his engagement to a woman in 1836, Andersen was absolutely heartbroken. And what did he do with that heartbreak? He wrote The Little Mermaid. Now, let's explore Andersen's original 1837 masterpiece. Folks, this is not your typical Disney princess story. Our mermaid lives in an underwater kingdom where she tends to her garden and dreams of the world above. On her 15th birthday, she's finally allowed to surface and see the human world. She witnesses a shipwreck and saves a handsome prince, dragging him to shore before disappearing back to the sea. But here's the twist. The prince never sees her. He thinks he was rescued by a young woman from a nearby temple. Our mermaid is immediately friend-zoned by someone who doesn't even know she exists. Talk about unrequited love. The mermaid becomes obsessed with the human world, but not just because of the prince. She discovers that humans have something mermaids don't: immortal souls. When mermaids pass away, they dissolve into seafoam and cease to exist. Humans, however, live on eternally. Our mermaid wants that immortality more than anything, so she visits the sea witch, who lives in a rather unconventional residence built from, let's call them maritime architectural elements of questionable origin. The witch offers a deal. She'll give the mermaid legs, but every step will feel like walking on sharp blades. Oh, and there's a small matter of payment. The mermaid must give up her voice forever. But wait, there's more. If the prince marries someone else, the mermaid will dissolve into seafoam the very next morning. No pressure at all. The mermaid agrees to these terms, which from a negotiation standpoint seems like she could have used a better lawyer. She drinks the potion, transforms, and begins her new life as a human. The prince finds the mermaid and is charmed by her beauty and grace. She becomes his constant companion, sleeping outside his door like a devoted pet. He loves her company, but not in the way she hopes, still pining for the mysterious woman who he believes saved him from the shipwreck. The mermaid endures daily agony, literally, as she walks on legs that feel like knives. She can never tell the prince how she feels, never explain that she was the one who saved him. She's trapped in a relationship where she can give everything but can never truly communicate. Then comes the devastating news. The prince is getting married. To make matters worse, his bride happens to be the temple woman, the one he thinks saved him. Our mermaid has to watch the man she loves marry someone else, knowing that his wedding day will be her last day of existence. The night before the wedding, the mermaid sisters appear. They've made their own deal with the sea witch, trading their beautiful hair for a magical blade. If the mermaid uses it to end the prince's life before dawn, she can return to the sea and live out her natural lifespan. But here's where Andersen shows us the mermaid's true character. She can't do it. She looks at the sleeping prince and his new bride, and despite her pain, she chooses to spare them. She throws the blade into the sea and prepares to dissolve into foam. But Andersen isn't finished with us yet, just as our mermaid is about to fade away. She's saved by the daughters of the air, spiritual beings who tell her that because she chose love over revenge, she has a chance to earn a soul. She must perform good deeds for 300 years, and then she gained the immortality she always wanted. This ending is crucial because it reflects Andersen's own spiritual struggles. He was deeply religious, but also deeply uncertain about his own salvation. The mermaid's uncertain fate mirrors Andersen's own fears about whether he would be accepted in the afterlife. Fast forward to 1989, and Disney is looking for their next animated masterpiece. The studio had been going through what many called a rough patch. Their previous films hadn't achieved the massive success of earlier classics. They needed something special, something that would revitalize the Disney brand. Enter directors Ron Clements and John Musker, who proposed adapting The Little Mermaid. But there was a problem. Andersen's original story was, shall we say, not exactly prime material for a family-friendly musical. The first major change? The mermaid needed a name. Disney's Ariel was named after the spirit in Shakespeare's The Tempest, giving her a more playful, rebellious personality than Andersen's melancholy dreamer. But the real genius was in the complete narrative overhaul. Disney transformed a story about spiritual longing and unrequited love into a tale about following your dreams and finding your voice. Quite literally, since Ariel gets her voice back. Disney's changes were extensive and brilliant. In Andersen's version, the mermaid loses her voice forever. Disney's Ariel gets it back, making her literally find her voice by the end of the film. Prince Eric actually gets to know Ariel and falls in love with her personality, not just her beauty. He's an active participant in their love story rather than an oblivious object of affection. Ursula becomes a theatrical villain, with clear motivations rather than a morally ambiguous magical being offering a legitimate business transaction. Instead of 300 years of good deeds, Ariel gets her happy ending immediately. King Triton, in an act of paternal love, gives up his own power to permanently transform his daughter. Rather than eternal non-existence, Ariel faces the consequence of becoming Ursula's prisoner. Definitely serious, but not quite as existentially terrifying. Disney's real masterstroke was creating an entire underwater world of characters. Sebastian the Crab became Ariel's conscience, Flounder her best friend, and Scuttle the Seagull her misinformed guide to human culture. These characters served multiple purposes. They provided comic relief, advanced the plot, and gave Ariel people to talk to. Remember, in Andersen's version, the mermaid is largely alone in her suffering. Disney's Ariel has a whole support system. The addition of musical numbers transformed the story from a tragic monologue into an interactive experience. Under the Sea celebrates underwater life, Part of Your World expresses longing and ambition, and Kiss the Girl creates romantic tension. These songs don't just entertain, they advance character development and plot. Disney's The Little Mermaid didn't just adapt Andersen's story. It revolutionized it for a new generation. The film became a cornerstone of what we now call the Disney Renaissance, proving that traditional animation could still captivate audiences in the modern era. But more importantly, it transformed the narrative from one of sacrifice and suffering into one of empowerment and choice. Ariel doesn't just want to be human. She wants to explore, to learn, to grow. She's curious about the world above, not just infatuated with a prince. The film also sparked important conversations about independence, family expectations, and following your dreams. Ariel's conflict with her father resonates with anyone who's ever felt misunderstood by their family or constrained by their circumstances. Today, The Little Mermaid exists in two forms: Andersen's profound meditation on love, sacrifice, and spiritual yearning, and Disney's celebration of curiosity, courage, and following your dreams. Neither version is correct. They're different artistic expressions that speak to different aspects of the human experience. Andersen's version reminds us that love sometimes means letting go, that growth often requires sacrifice, and that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. It's a story for those moments when life feels uncertain, when we're questioning our place in the world. Disney's version tells us that our dreams are valid, that we can find our voice, and that love should lift us up rather than diminish us. It's a story for moments when we need courage to change our circumstances. Both versions recognize something fundamental about the human condition. We're all a little bit like that mermaid, looking up at a different world and wondering what it would be like to belong there. So there you have it. The remarkable journey from Hans Christian Andersen's deeply personal tale of unrequited love to Disney empowering musical about finding your voice, to transformation that proves the best adaptations don't just change the story, they honor the original while creating something entirely new. Andersen's Mermaid teaches us about sacrifice, spiritual longing, and the courage to choose love over revenge. Disney's Ariel shows us the importance of curiosity, the value of following our dreams, and the power of finding our voice. Both stories remind us that sometimes the most profound changes happen beneath the surface, in the depths of our own hearts and minds. Whether we're dissolving into seafoam or walking on legs that feel like knives, we're all just trying to find where we belong. What's your favorite version of The Little Mermaid? You drawn to Andersen's spiritual depth or Disney's optimistic adventure? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shaped our childhoods. Until then, keep diving deep into the stories that matter. They're full of surprises, profound truths, and the occasional life-changing revelation.